Hello YouTube. This video is about what I learned from interviewing 2,192 filmmakers in the past 3 years.
We're gonna shoot something really big.
Welcome. If you are new here, this is the channel where I teach you how to monetize your career and sell your original content. So I have interviewed a ton of filmmakers, 2,192 to be exact, in the last 3 years, probably more before that. On the other side, I've probably heard thousands, 10,000 pitches from filmmakers. So I have had a front row seat to filmmaker psychology. I am not separating myself from other filmmakers. I possess a ton of this stuff, but I am just passing on what I learned. And the way I want to frame this video is kind of look at the problems or barriers or where filmmakers feel stuck. I want to talk about what their destination is, or what the ideal destination they want to get to is, right? What does success look like to them? And then I want to offer up some solutions that I think will help people get from that place of being stuck to that place of being unstuck. So as many of you know, I operate a consultancy as well as being a producer and a showrunner that helps working filmmakers, production companies, and studios build audience and monetize things and all of that. So I am constantly in conversations with people that are trying to solve career problems. I'd say 60% of my work is done on the ground with day-to-day filmmakers who are really working to take their career to the next level. And so one of the first things that I learned from talking to them is that many filmmakers devalue their work. They talk about it as if, and I think this is subconscious because I don't think anybody intentionally devalues their work, but they talk about it as if it's a luxury to somebody. And so what that ends up doing is it ends up putting that creator in a place where if they're devaluing their work, they have trouble charging for it. Because everybody, let's face it, wants to start shooting, wants to make stuff, wants to do that. And therefore, they're willing to take maybe a deal that doesn't line up with, one, serving their needs financially, and two, allowing them to get paid what most likely they're worth. And so that puts them behind the 8 ball, right? Financially, so that a lot of filmmakers end up playing catch up. So it's try to gig your way out of a financial situation and then kind of start living from a situational standpoint rather than a place of vision. People who live from a place of vision don't worry about the car payment. Even if they're having trouble paying it, they're already just moving in the direction of what their vision is, right? It doesn't mean they're irresponsible or they're blowing off car payments. It just means that that doesn't take the priority, and that's not ever why they would take a job. So that is probably one of the biggest things that I hear. Next is most filmmakers are in a constant hunt to get in production. So 80%, and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, 80% of their time is geared towards getting on set and being in production. And I get it, it's the sexy bits. It makes us feel most alive. But the reality of it is, if that's only 20% of what we do, we should spend more of our time building relationships instead of, now I have this production, right? But what has it done for my business? And it makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we are actually getting something done, when in fact, if 80% of our time is spent trying to get on 20% of the work, we're gonna get 20% of the results, if not less. And so next, this is a big one. Most people do not have a process for turning a stranger into a fan of their work. And I hear this a lot, is like, I make stuff and I put it out there and nobody sees it. Well, there isn't a concrete business-oriented process to turn that, literally, and I want you to hear me, that stranger, somebody who has no context for who you are, somebody who has no idea that you even exist. How are we gonna get them to pay us with their time, right? Because that's the first thing, and their time is way more valuable than their money. We're asking them for one of the most valuable resources that they have. So when they do that and they spend time with us, that's a big deal. So we need to have that process of turning that stranger into a fan. And again, it isn't magic or voodoo. It is something that exists and that people do every day, and successful people have figured out a way to master. And so another one is that filmmakers don't have a process for turning a stranger into a buyer of their work. So again, spending all your time trying to get into production means you're not developing relationships. So that is 80% of what we should be doing, right? We should be spending 80% of our time trying to have a relationship with an audience and trying to have a relationship with the industry. So it is many times a numbers game, and it's how we communicate, right? I have an inbox filled with people asking me to read their scripts, and what they end up doing is selling me work, right? That is not the process to get ahead. I get that it seems so rational, and I understand it, and trust me, I did it for years. But it yielded so few results that the time spent on it didn't make much sense. Another one is filmmakers don't feel like they have access, or they actually don't have access to the industry, right? And so that means that they don't pitch. And if you are not pitching once or twice a month, that puts you behind the 8 ball again, because you're not confronting the industry. And next, when they do pitch, they put so much weight on that pitch that they end up losing leadership in the room and end up maybe talking too much or being sort of overamped or things like that, and they get very nervous. And I'm not saying that I haven't seen that. I see it all the time where it just crumbles. So having a system to be able to pitch is super important. And I'll leave a link in the description below to a tool that I think is going to help you systemize your pitch structure and be able to communicate with people to get in the room. Another problem I hear a lot is that filmmakers are relying on pure talent. And I'm here to tell you, the industry doesn't always buy talent. They buy results. So I sit on the buying side a lot, and so I see when stuff gets bought and why it gets bought. And it gets bought because there's social proof. It gets bought because that person was able to generate energy, meaning audience, eyeballs, money, attention, press. That could be a fairly mediocre piece of content, and for some reason it just kind of hit, right? Or somebody had enough force to be able to kind of push it over the hump. Whereas just having a good idea is not enough for the industry. They need to know that that good idea is, one, in the right hands, because very often they're going to try to take that idea from you and give it to somebody they know. So you have to find a way of being indispensable to them. You have to find a way of not being able to be taken out of the process. So again, it comes down to solving a studio or an investor or a distributor's business problem with your content, and being able to pitch it in a way where they fully understand you're the right person and that this solves their problem, which is they need to sell advertising or subscriptions or movie tickets. And since movie theaters aren't going to be open for a while, it is now all about streaming. And they don't even want to hear about artists and things like that. They want to hear about this piece of content fits their business strategy. So those are some of the problems. I mean, there are myriad others, but those are some of the major ones. And so what destination, what does success look like to the filmmakers I talk to? What is that, where do they want to end up? So let's say I ask you the question of, take me 12 months into the future, what does your perfect day look like? In other words, what needs to happen between you watching this video and 12 months from now for you to feel like you moved the needle? Most of them say they want to show up at a studio that is theirs, that has a space, some kind of warehouse space like this maybe, where there are like-minded people who are creating and co-creating with them. And they really want to see that they have two things, that they have time and resources. Because time and resources allows them not to feel like they're creating with a gun to their head. And I love this vision because it's what we all want. We want to show up to a place where there are people who are truly supportive. They also say that they want to open up their inbox and have 3 requests for pitches in their inbox when they wake up in the morning, right? They want to know that somebody values what they do, and that they have made enough of an impact that they're worthy getting in touch with. And I think that's amazing. And I think that if we can have a clear vision of how to get there, it is so important that we know what success looks like to us. We have to have a very clear and detailed picture. And it has to do with, 1, what work do we want to be known for? And 2, what business allows that kind of work to happen? Because we are in show business, we have to have the business part of it. We can't just be the makers of stuff. Especially now. It's too crowded, it's too jam-packed with other creators. Production costs are super low now compared to what they were when we all shot on film. So one needs to do something from a true place of enterprise, of business. 2 other things they want, and I love this as well. They want freedom of choice and freedom of movement. They want to be able to purchase something when they feel they need it, when their business needs it. They want to be able to, freedom of movement is one of my favorites. They want to be able to go where they want to go when they want to go. I am fortunate enough to be able to kind of work from wherever I am. A phone and a computer, and obviously there are times when I have to be in a building with other people, but for the most part I can work from wherever I am. And there is a tremendous amount of liberty in that. There's a tremendous amount of empowerment in that. And finally, I think we all want to just be validated that our work matters. The destination they want to get to is that they're recognized, that they're seen. And I don't blame anybody for having that dream. I don't blame anybody for wanting that as part of the destination, because we are fighting for attention. This business is about fighting for attention. And again, not the kind of attention that a kid wants, kind of attention that says our work matters to people and we affect change by creating the things we create. So finally, what solutions are there to sort of overcome these things and to arrive at the place we want to arrive at? First, we have to, nowadays, we have to broadcast. We don't need permission to use the internet. We don't need permission to create micro content that allows people the context for who we are and what we truly believe in, what we truly want them to understand about us. And the other is that we have to have a relationship with them. I look at you people as my peers. I don't look at myself as sitting on some, ivory tower spewing out gems of wisdom. My goal is that I learned a thing or two over the past 17, 20 years of having a career where I got socked in the mouth, and I don't want you to have to do it. So that's my ultimate goal here, but I create micro content constantly. You guys know me as a producer. You know me as somebody who deals with the business end of stuff, and it's because I told you that. So tell people what you do. Have that conversation. I don't want to use you guys for likes. I don't want you to use your audience for likes. I want you to have a genuine relationship with them. And the deeper relationship we have and the closer we are to our audience, the filmmakers that are close to their audiences win. And they win every time. And you know who they are. You can go on the internet and see who's constantly putting out content. And so I think we need to become there every day. We need to become part of just their visual routine. And so the only way to do that is not going to be by only posting when you're making something. It's about let me into your life, let me into your process, let me into who you're hanging out with, let me into when you make a mistake. And I can guarantee you that that is going to build an audience, and then that audience automatically comes with market leverage because you get to sit at the table differently and say, I've got an audience and my audience likes a particular thing, and you guys are asking me to do this thing that I don't think my audience is going to like, so I'm going to ruin my business and I don't want to do that. I want to help you guys. I notice it allows you to say things like this. I notice your audience and my audience match up here. Why don't we start creating there? And then they see that you are there to do business. Then they see that you are there to change the game and to drive eyeballs and revenue to their studio or their distribution company. And finally, be willing to take the biggest risk you possibly can. And I'm living proof. I was told by a mentor, a guy named Jack Lechner, who's a producer in New York. He said, the safest move for a creator or filmmaker is the boldest one. Because if we are doing practical things and reasonable things, that's the fastest, quickest road to mediocrity. But if we're taking bold steps and we're saying things that are tough to say, and we're saying big things and we're shaking the tree a little bit, then that means we stand for something, and people, the right people, will follow that. The people who don't believe what you believe, they probably won't come along for the ride. You need to be famous to the right people, not to everybody. So we gotta stop looking for those likes, and we gotta start developing relationships. So I've left a link in the description, which is a link to a tool that I've created that'll allow you to pitch TV, web series, film. It will help you get in the room, will help take the guesswork out of the pitch process. And it'll help take the guesswork of how to communicate with hard to reach people who buy content. So anyway, click on that if you want. I hope this has helped. Don't forget to leave a comment. I'd love to hear kind of what you struggle with. What are some of the things, what are some of the barriers you're finding in your career? Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button so you're notified of upcoming videos. And I can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'm talking to you.